Good morning, everyone, and welcome into Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we're going to be talking about tight ends today. We're making a tier list of tight ends, wrapping up this tier list series before we have a fun little show tomorrow. But yeah, we're going to build a tier list of tight ends today. Why spend any more time talking about it? Let's just go ahead and do it. Pulling this bad boy up right now. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. This tier list I actually made. There was no tier list already made for tight ends from the great underdog this time around. So we've got what I went ahead and did was just get the top 40 tight ends on the player profiler rankings, and we'll kind of see how it goes. We might not have time for all 40, but figured, might as well grab too many as opposed to too little. But let's go ahead and do this. And we'll just go name by name. So Albert Okuabunam, look at that, right off the top, the tough names to pronounce. So here's the deal with him. I mean, it's very confusing because obviously he had so much athleticism, and last year he was one of the big sleeper tight ends that everyone was taking in the back end of drafts, hoping that he would hit. But then, of course, Greg Dulcich ended up coming in and being a little bit more successful for fantasy purposes than Albert Okuabunam. We don't know if he's even going to have a role in this Broncos offense. And while I do love the athleticism and everything because of that, I can't put him any higher than the C tier. We'll see how it shakes out. He might get moved down. He might get moved up. But for now, I'm doing the C tier, not quite putting him in the D tier. Someone who will hit the D tier is my man, Austin Hooper. Just not going to be good for fantasy. I mean, obviously he was at one time, but at this point, just way at the end of his career. And I believe the tight end 2 now, and just not going to be that good for fantasy, plain and simple. Cade Otton, shoot. Throw him probably in the B tier, to be honest. Strange one, right? But, he's starting tight end. Probably going to get some volume. I don't know. It's going to be tough to say with this Baker Mayfield-led offense or Kyle Trask-led offense, but, he has at least a little bit more of a role than Albert O, so he can't necessarily be in the same tier there, even with a little bit less athleticism. So for now, we'll throw him in that B tier. Oh, man, I don't know. We're C tiering him. Yeah. Because I want to put Chig in the B tier. Not quite A tier yet, but I do love what Chig Okonkwo is going to be bringing to the Tennessee Titans offense. He was used all sorts of ways in Maryland in college. He was used out of the backfield to run the ball. He was their most dynamic receiver. And that, honestly, we saw lots of flashes of that last year with the Titans. He was consistently open. He made some big plays. He had some big games. And the athleticism is all there. And I guess he's probably target 2 on this offense, probably right behind Burks. You've got Chig, and that should be a decent amount of volume, especially in a play action type of offense. The tight end is out there frequently. So Chig Okonkwo, great value heading into next year. And a guy, I'm targeting. A guy I am targeting. I love the athleticism, love everything about him. Cole Kmet, feel like you've probably got to throw him in the same tier. Yeah, I don't know. Not as high on Cole Kmet as I am Chig, believe it or not, although they do probably have similar draft values and everything. With this Bears offense, it's just I don't know who to latch onto, and I sure as hell don't want to choose incorrectly. So when I'm looking at Cole Kmet, I don't know if he's really going to be the correct one. I do, of course, think he'll have a couple big games here and there, but, there's honestly a ton of mouths to feed now on this Bears offense. 3 different running backs. Justin Fields needs to get his. DJ Moore was brought in. Darnell Mooney isn't washed. He's still there. And then you've got him. So, I guess just a little B tier. Just I don't know how high the ceiling is for him this year, unfortunately. I think we all had great expectations for him, but at this point, I just don't know if he's actually going to hit those. So, yeah, we'll throw him in that B tier. And I guess the rookie tight end probably gets into that B tier as well. This is going to be a crowded B tier, I think, because we'll see what we're going to do a little later with this A and S tier. But I just, this B tier is going to end up being very crowded. And that's kind of just what happens in the tight end landscape is pretty much everyone from 6 to 20 is like the same player. And you're getting basically the same production out of them. So, yeah, Dalton Kincaid, we're throwing into the B tier. Of course, he could end up being a lot better. But in terms of 2023 expectations for a rookie tight end, you can't expect too much, unfortunately. So B tier for him. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, he's a rookie tight end. Those take some time. And there's still another tight end on that offense in Dawson Knox, who at the very least could end up scoring some touchdowns, maybe not get as many yards as Dalton Kincaid, but still going to get some touchdowns. Dalton Schultz, I guess, again, we're throwing him into this B tier just because he's honestly has a case to be the main target on this Texans offense. We haven't seen anything from any of the wide receivers on this team, really, at least not to the degree and consistency that Dalton Schultz showed in Dallas. Of course, he's going to a new team and everything, but I mean, this team is new in and of itself, new coaching staff, new quarterback. So he has a chance to carve out a role. And rookie tight end or rookie quarterbacks do love to target their tight ends. It's a nice little safety net for them. So Dalton Schultz could actually see plenty of volume. I don't think the ceiling is going to be there. That's why he's not in the A tier. I don't think the ceiling is going to be there on the Texans that was there on the Cowboys. And I think that's fair, right? I mean, the Cowboys are going to score so many more points than the Texans would. Just because of that, I'm putting him in the B tier. I think if he was still on the Cowboys, he might eke into that A tier just because of the volume and consistency he was showing. But I'm gonna have to tier him down here because of the Texans offense. Daniel Bellinger. I just don't know how to decipher, and I'm glad that both of these Giants tight ends are actually right next to each other. I don't know how to decipher this Darren Waller signing still, really. I mean, obviously, I think Darren Waller is going to be the tight end one. I don't think that's a hot take at all. But, we do have the concerns of if Darren Waller can finish out the season and everything. Daniel Bellinger's had his own health concerns. So I think with Bellinger, I'm going to throw him into that C tier with these guys. And I'll probably throw Darren Waller, believe it or not, only into the B tier. I'm not convicted in him. I'm really not. I do not have the confidence that I think a lot of people have with Darren Waller, with the age, with the injury, with going to a new team. And on top of it, just going to a new team, it's a new team that doesn't pass the ball a ton. And isn't the most prolific passing offense to begin with. So I just don't know. I really don't know what that upside is. I mean, we're talking about a guy who was getting sometimes double-digit targets in a game. I don't really think that's going to happen on the Giants. He'll probably still have some 5-6 targeters pretty frequently and, produce well enough off that. But I don't see much of a ceiling for him, at least not the ceiling of old. I'm going to have to throw him into the B tier. We'll put him at the top of the B tier out of respect. And I see this comment here. Waller will be the slot player, Bellinger more in the traditional tight end role. And this is true, but it's still, those guys are going to kind of be competing for targets in a small capacity. I don't think Bellinger's really that great, at least compared to Darren Waller. I mean, I know Darren Waller's fantastic. I don't have the conviction to put Waller in that A tier, unfortunately. David Njoku, gosh, something's got to budge, right? But I don't think it will. I think we're going to stack this B tier some more. I think he's getting a little bit closer to the A tier. I do love David Njoku's athleticism. They just signed him to a massive contract. I do believe the Browns passing attack will be taking a step forward this year, as Deshaun Watson should have shaken off most of that rust. So I am high on David Njoku this season, and I do believe he's a good value. But the way I'm going to decipher these tight ends, I just can't quite put him into the A tier. I will put him ahead of Darren Waller for now and probably hold it that way, but I'm not going to slide him into that A tier just yet. Dawson Knox, back of the B tier still. I don't want to put him down to the C tier. He's still attached to the Buffalo Bills and still will probably get a few touchdowns here and there, to where he probably will still be able to get you out of that tight end wasteland. I think it's going to be obviously tough week in, week out. But Dawson Knox, I still think, has the potential to be a 10-point kind of guy. It just kind of sucks that they brought in Kincaid. I would rather have Kincaid than Dawson Knox. I do want to put that on the record. But I think at the very least, we've probably got to kind of consider them in the same tier for now, with Dawson Knox kind of at the back end. And I'll probably try to demonstrate that as I fill this tier a little bit more. But I don't want to bump him down to the C tier. Maybe I do. Yeah, screw it. I'll bump Dawson Knox down to the C tier. I will. Dallas Goedert. This is where we start filling out that A tier. Now, Dallas Goedert, he will be at the back end of this A tier. I want to go ahead and get that straight, but since he's the first one into the A tier, we'll shove him there. And yeah, I think the one concern with Goedert, I think he's amazing. In fact, I know he's amazing. I don't have to say think. I know he's amazing. He is a great tight end, and he will surely have some games. But he is still the third option in this passing offense that already doesn't pass the ball too much. So I do love Dallas Goedert. I do think he's going to have some games, but I do think you'll start to see him be slightly stepped down from some of the other tight ends in this A tier. But still, you've got to take a chance on him being attached to such a prolific offense and still getting a decent amount of volume, just not like obviously Travis Kelce type volume. And that's fine. That's okay. Evan Ingram. I honestly want to put in the A tier, but with the contract concerns, with them drafting a new tight end and Brenton Strange, I'm going to bump him down to the B tier. Much like David Njoku, he's attached to an offense I want to be a part of. And in fact, I want the tight end in that offense. Evan Ingram and David Njoku are kind of the shining stars, maybe Chig as well, in this B tier. I think these guys are going to be your more values of the B tier that have the higher ceiling as well. It's just a little bit of a shaky floor right now. But to Evan Ingram's point, I mean, we saw his ceiling of, what was it, like a 40-something point game, like 160 yards, 2 touchdown type performance last year. And I mean, those types of performances will continue to happen. It is the Jaguars. They've finally arrived. Trevor Lawrence has finally arrived. And it's just going to be, one week it's going to be Calvin Ridley. One week it's going to be Christian Kirk. One week it's going to be Evan Ingram. One week it's going to be Zay Jones. One week it'll be Travis Etienne. But because of it being so many different receivers at different weeks, I can't put Ingram into the A tier. But shoot, I mean, dude's going to have some S tier games. I want to say that. I do want to say that. George Kittle, A tier, of course. My man, George Kittle. And I will put him ahead of Dallas Goedert. I will. Obviously, we have the health concerns with him that we saw a little bit last year. But with George Kittle, I mean, he's the closest thing to Travis Kelce in terms of ceiling, production, potential volume. He's amazing. He really, really is. He's, I mean, in real life football, second best tight end in the league, arguably better than Travis Kelce, all things considered, but not, obviously it's still Travis Kelce, but there's an argument and a case to be made there. George Kittle is fantastic. So A tier, because of some concerns with him and when he'll be able to, be the main receiving option on this 49ers offense. Like Evan Ingram, some weeks it's going to be Deebo Samuel. Some weeks it'll be Christian McCaffrey. Some weeks it'll be Brandon Ayuk. And some weeks it'll be Kittle. But I do think, going back to the Ingram comparison, there'll be more Kittle weeks than there will be Evan Ingram weeks. And also a little bit of a higher floor with our guy Kittle. So I'll keep him in that A tier. Gerald Everett is a guy I'm targeting heavily in fantasy football, but he's still a B tier tight end. But he's attached to the Chargers offense, who leads the league in pass attempts. And honestly, just being the fourth weapon in this offense is fine. It's totally fine. I do think that Quentin Johnson, at least halfway through the season, will start to mold into being the third guy. Earlier in the season, it might be some Gerald Everett. But either way, even as a fourth option in this offense, he's still probably going to get you 7 to 12 points a game, which is totally fine and acceptable. He's going to be a consistent option. And that is kind of what I like to chase when it comes to tight ends. If you fall out of the top tier of guys, just go get yourself a Gerald Everett, or as we'll talk about in a bit, go get yourself an Irv Smith, just a guy on a good offense, and they'll have some weeks and honestly a high enough floor to where those good weeks will win you weeks, they won't lose you weeks, all of that stuff. So Gerald Everett is a guy I am heavily targeting. But yeah, we'll move on to Greg Dulcich. And this is the thing. I mean, I feel like you've got to throw him into the B tier, but it's the bottom of the B tier, top of the C tier type of thing. Just because we don't know what's going on with him. It's a new coaching staff, but assuming that he is still the starting tight end for the Broncos and Sean Payton does end up using him similarly, even with the concerning reports out of camp that he just doesn't like him that much, we'll throw him in the back of the B tier. We will. Just because that's still, if he's used the same, then that is a pretty good role for fantasy football. So B tier. Hayden Hurst, C tier, I guess. I mean, he's the starting tight end, which is what these guys can't really say. But I don't really think he's going to be as good as, say, Dalton Schultz on the new offense. This is the Panthers offense already that's honestly kind of crowded. You've got Mingo, you've got Chark, you've got Thielen, you've got Chenault, and a rookie quarterback who could end up targeting Hayden Hurst. But I don't know. I don't want to put him really in that B tier. It just doesn't feel right. I think I'll keep him in the C tier at the top of it because he is the starter. But I just don't think it's actually going to be that high of a ceiling or even really that good of a floor for Hayden Hurst, unfortunately. Hunter Henry is also going into that C tier. I think that's fair. If Mike Gesicki wasn't brought in, maybe I would have to put him in the B tier. But even then, when he was the true starter as the Patriots tight end, he didn't do enough. So I'll put him in that C tier. And I honestly will probably put Gesicki in there. As I see him right here. I'll just go ahead and put him in there too. Maybe ahead of Hunter Henry because of the athleticism, because of the connection with Bill O'Brien. But I do think both of these guys are really, you're not going to be comfortable starting either one. Which sucks, which really does suck. But, this Patriots offense isn't that great in general, especially as a passing offense. I know Bill O'Brien's supposed to change that and everything, but I really don't think he will change it to be that much better than what it is. And it's just going to be so much inconsistency between these two Patriots tight ends that I just have to put them both in the C tier. And I'm honestly staying away from either, at least in redraft. I think you can maybe take a chance on some dynasty on maybe with Gesicki because you can hold on to him until he does eventually hit, if he eventually hits. But I feel like we've been expecting him to hit for so long now. Great profile and everything, but I don't know. I honestly don't know what it is. He just can't really put it all together. Maybe he does with the Patriots, but I do still see Hunter Henry standing there, who is one of Mac Jones' favorite targets. So I just don't think you can completely count him out as much as some people are. So both of these guys will throw into the C tier. Irv Smith, I talked about Gerald Everett earlier. He's in the B tier, so is Irv Smith, Cincinnati Bengals tight end. Hayden Hurst was fantasy relevant last year. CJ Uzomah was fantasy relevant the year before that because they were the Bengals tight end. Plain and simple, gonna have some weeks, gonna get targeted plenty, gonna score some touchdowns. B tier, Irv Smith. Isaiah Likely, C tier, I guess, just out of respect. Maybe D tier, to be honest, for redraft purposes. It's going to take a Mark Andrews injury to really do anything. I know last year they kind of started doing a little bit of two tight end stuff, but we've got a new offensive coordinator and now also plenty more pass catchers, bringing in Odell, drafting Zay Flowers. So I just have to put him in the D tier because he's a backup tight end. The hype around him is true. It makes sense, but actually, you know what? We'll make a statement here. We'll keep him in the D tier. We'll keep him in the D tier. I think just making the list is good enough. Jelani Woods. I'm going to put him in the C tier just because we really haven't seen anything. He had one game, I believe, where he had like 8 or 9 receptions and nearly 100 yards and a touchdown. But that was kind of it. And with this Colts offense going to be going through some growing pains with the new rookie quarterback, I don't necessarily think Jelani Woods has that high of a floor. He does, of course, have a massively high ceiling with that athleticism. And if he does pan out, we could end up be talking about him as an A tier tight end. But currently, just have to put him at the top of the C tier. But great athleticism, great potential, just also potential for, a pretty bad season as well. B tier, we're going to go with Jawan Johnson. We're going to throw him in that B tier. I don't think Foster Moreau is going to be starting early next year. He could end up working himself back into football shape, but I think that was more of just a signing to maybe put him on the PUP list until he is ready to return to football. Jawan Johnson, B tier. He could end up being Derek Carr's Darren Waller, profiles well and should get plenty of volume in this offense. It's Chris Olave, Michael Thomas maybe for a few weeks, and then probably Jawan Johnson. I don't think Shaheed or A.T. Perry or the other guy they brought in or Brian Edwards will be a higher on the pecking order than Jawan Johnson. So we'll put him in the B tier. Kyle Pitts. We're throwing into the A tier, but I'm still concerned about him. I really am. Of course, the ceiling is there with that athleticism, but, I think honestly that Drake London will probably out-target him going into or at the end of the next year, and he'll only have a few good games, and he'll have some absolute stinkers in this offense. But you have to bet on that athleticism. You've got to keep betting on the draft capital, and you've got to draft or bet on the position that he'll be playing. I mean, now with Jonnu Smith brought in to play the more traditional tight end role, Kyle Pitts could be let free a lot more. He just honestly hasn't shown enough consistency for me to want to put him in the S tier. I believe this is Logan Thomas. C tier for him. Don't have much to say about him, but we'll just throw him in the C tier. In fact, the C tier is probably going to end up, I'm just going to have to move Okokbunam down to D tier, unfortunately. Because this is kind of shaking up a little differently than, Anyway, Luke Musgrave will throw into the C tier. These rookie tight ends obviously can't expect too much from them, especially one where they drafted another rookie tight end that's honestly better. more athletic, and Tucker Craft. So I'm just going to have to C tier my Musgrave for now, and we'll see what happens. Schoonmaker, I do have some faith in. I really do. I love the landing spot going on to the Cowboys. I'll throw him, I'll probably take a chance of him over the Patriots tight ends, and maybe even over Hayden Hurst. I think he's going to get tons of volume. I really, really do. I think Schoonmaker will end up being the starting tight end really early. In fact, probably even by week 1. He's better than Hendon Shot, and he's better than Ferguson. And this Cowboys offense, I mean, they pass the ball plenty, and I think Schoonmaker is going to be a big part of that. I really do. I think he'll probably be the more redraft friendly, outside of maybe like Laporta, Kincaid, and all that kind of tight ends, better than the Musgrave, of course, of the world. In fact, I might take a Schoonmaker over a Mayer, and we'll see. We'll see kind of with Michael Mayer what happens. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough call. I almost want to B tier these guys. I think I'm going to B tier them. I think they'll be fine. I really do. Kincaid ahead of them, of course. But yeah, Mark Andrews, A tier. This is where the tiers might be hot taking here. But Mark Andrews, I just can't put into the S tier with the new pass catchers added. Obviously, Mark Andrews is fantastic. He's got the nickname Mandrews for a reason. But this S tier is locked for one name and one name alone. And we'll talk about that when we get here. But Mark Andrews, A tier. I have a little bit of concerns about what type of volume he's going to get that I just can't quite put him into that S tier. Noah Fant, honestly, just hasn't shown enough at all, really. So we'll put him in the C tier because of the athleticism, because he's still the starter. But yeah, C tier for the Noah Fant. Noah Gray, I want to put in the D tier. I do love Noah Gray. More than most handcuffed tight ends. I do think if something ever happens to Travis Kelce, Noah Gray will be relied on as, their starting tight end. And we'll probably get not as much of volume as Travis Kelce, but still a decent amount of volume just because of how the Chiefs use their tight ends. So yeah, Noah Gray, D tier. Pat Freiermuth, we'll put in the B tier. I don't like him as much as other people do, plain and simple. But he's still a consistent tight end, still going to get some volume, and still pretty good. I just don't see a massive ceiling with Pat Freiermuth. I really don't. I just see him as being a consistent 10-point guy and nothing more than that. But there's nothing wrong with that either, especially in the tight end landscape. So Pat Freiermuth, kind of top of the B tier. Sam Laporta, I am going to rank ahead of Dalton Kincaid. I do think he's the guy that's going to be the most redraft friendly in this tight end rookie class. I love the profile. I love the landing spot. And I love the potential for early production with the Jameson Williams suspension. I do think that he'll just be thrown to the fire a little bit earlier than some of these guys. And I think he'll produce. I really do. Taysom Hill, I guess C tier. I don't know. Maybe a B tier depending on your scoring and everything. But yeah, C tier. S tier ceiling. We've seen some massive games from Taysom Hill for some reason. But I can't in good conscience really put him in the B tier with some of these other guys. I'll put him near the top of the C tier, though, maybe ahead of Hayden Hurst. I like Jelani Woods. TJ Hawkinson, A tier. In fact, I think TJ Hawkinson is probably my tight end 2. I think I might take TJ Hawkinson over Mark Andrews, believe it or not. I know that's a hot take, but I'm expecting really big things from him. The profile is amazing, and being on the Vikings is amazing. I do still think that he will get more passes and targets and everything than Jordan Addison. I do think he is the second pass catcher on this offense, plain and simple. And because of that, I've got to be incredibly, incredibly high on TJ Hawkinson. And I am. And this is where we put our guy, the man, the myth, the legend, Travis Kelce, into the S tier. No debate. Tier of his own. It is too simple. Too simple. Patrick Mahomes gets a tier of his own. Travis Kelce gets a tier of his own. There is just no one with the consistent ceiling and floor that Travis Kelce has. It's just really, really remarkable what this guy has done in his career, especially over the last few. Travis Kelce, absolute dog, absolute machine, tier of his own. Travis Kelce. Trey McBride, I'll throw into the B tier. I'll throw him into the B tier. Just because, I don't really think Zach Ertz is going to be doing anything this year. And Trey McBride has potential for a really good target share on this offense. And he was the favorite to be the best rookie tight end last year. You don't really lose that. It just takes some time. So I'll put him in that B tier. I will. Tyler Conklin, he's C tier. He's a C tier kind of guy. Yeah, really not much to say about it. He's a C tier kind of guy. Maybe honestly, someday we'll put him with Fant, to be honest. Just one of the guys that have to legally be in a tier of not backup tight ends. Tyler Higbee, I want to put him in the B tier. I do. Yeah, Rams tight end. Gonna get some volume. Matthew Stafford's back. All of that stuff. B tier. Can't throw him into that C tier. And Zach Ertz will throw into the C tier just because we don't know what's really going on with him. But if he does return and ends up being cleared and healthy and everything, then shoot, I guess he probably is B tier. But for now, we'll throw him into the C tier. This is the list. Kelce in a tier of his own at the S tier. The A tier being Hawkinson, Mandrews, Pitts, Kittle, and Goddard. B tier rounded out with all of these middle guys, with some kind of higher ceiling guys at the top with Chig, Freiermuth, Njoku, Evan Ingram at the top of the B tier. The rookie tight ends, I do think will probably be a little bit better this year, especially the ones on the good landing spots that I put in this tier. And yeah, this is the list. Thank you guys for tuning in. Jake Ferguson, actually, Jared, I did not get. I just did the top 40 on the Player Profiler tight end rankings, and Jake Ferguson was not in that list. But just a little aside about him, I just plain and simple think Schoonmaker's going to beat him out. I really wouldn't be worried about Jake Ferguson anymore. He might get a couple tight end weeks, but you're never going to start him for those weeks. And unfortunately, he's just not that guy anymore. But this is the list, guys. Thank you for tuning in. This was another great tier list. It was fun to build these guys with you. And tomorrow, we'll see what I've got cooked up. But there's no more positions to talk about, so it won't be a tier list. I'll tell you that much. But thank you for tuning in yet again. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. You have a fantastic, and I mean fantastic, Thursday evening.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.